All right, greetings, good day. It's Donnie with TechWinner, and thank you so much for joining me today. Just coming at you, TechWinner Live, actually working on my next video. And some of you guys might be wondering, where have you been for the last month? And I've really just been focused on my family and my day job, and did a little bit of travel, and just took a little bit of time off. But I'm about to be back. I'm working on my next project, and yes, it's a vacuum, ladies and gentlemen. Not a camera, not any of the other products, security cameras, dash cameras, CarPlay type of things, or smart bulbs, or smart thermostats. We're testing out a vacuum, and I'm pleasantly surprised with how this thing's turned out. So I can't wait to share those results with you. I'm at this point convinced if you're buying a Dyson or a Shark, you're probably paying too much money. At least with the portable battery powered handhelds, and they're lightweight, they're awesome. It's even made my teenage daughter want to vacuum. So I'll be talking about that more in a video that's coming up very, very soon. As soon as I get it filmed, all of it filmed. I've done all the B-roll footage, and I just need to do my commentary and my video, and we'll get it all edited together, and we'll go from there. But guys, chat is open. I see some of you guys are on there. Any questions you have, anything? This is as Ask Me Anything. And I'll just be on here for a few minutes while I'm just kind of getting warmed up before I film my other video, which, by the way, the vacuum itself is down here, and it's charging. So good stuff. Good stuff. A lot of fun updates came out, just technology, with, of course, the Apple WWDC last week. And I like Apple products, so I'm really excited about that. I just kind of criticize like Dyson and Shark as maybe being overpriced. Apple's one of those where it's the whole ecosystem, and I think their attention to detail is really good. I mean, there's other computers in the market, there's other smartphones, smart watches that are in the market, but just how those all work together, Apple does a great job. Very pleased to see the MacBook Air 15-inch that is now coming out. Can't wait to do some testing with those and just kind of see them firsthand. And just that's been a market, an opportunity, I think, for them for a really long time that I'm glad they're finally taking advantage of. But then, of course, they kind of talked about the next version of iOS and iPad OS and Mac OS and all of that fun stuff. Which is always good, and you start paying attention to what's not going to get those updates. Those are things that I'm always thinking about. A lot of their track record has been typically they're supporting devices between kind of that 5 and 6 year range. It seems to be ringing true again. The iPhone 10 and the iPhone 8 aren't going to be getting iOS 17. Those are 6-year-old phones at this point. iPad's kind of from that same era, that 2017, 6 years ago. It seems like they're not going to be getting this update either. So it's definitely kind of just a sign of the times, I guess you could say. But then, I mean, of course, the big news out of that was the Apple Vision Pro, their new headset. I'm kind of interested to see, how that plays out. I'll just be honest with you. I'm kind of the 40-year-old curmudgeon out there that is still trying to figure out the real world use case for VR. Like I'm not sold on like why I need it. But Apple has entered that game now, and they have shown in other areas. They were not the first smartphone out there. They weren't the first watch wearable out there. But what they did is they took existing things and really built an ecosystem around them. And some other journalists and YouTubers have kind of talked about that comparison to the Apple Watch. The first one came out, and we really didn't know like where it was going to go, what it was going to do. they kind of let the developers and the market decide, like, how do we use Apple Watches? How do we get value from them? So it's kind of interesting to see if now that mentality will translate over into this VR headset as well, which I am kind of impressed with one feature. You know, when they first showed this thing, they unveiled it. You could see the eyes, and it at least gave the impression that that was glass, and it was it was glass that then had some sort of an image that was projected over it that you're seeing, but we can still see you. But in fact, that is not glass. It is not your eyes. It's not translucent glass that you're seeing the person's actual eyes. There's cameras inside the goggles that then are projecting onto a display on the outside an image of your eyes at a very high resolution. So that's just interesting that they went to that level of detail, but that's what Apple does. They have a very high attention to detail. And so yeah, first generation of it, $3,499. I will not be getting that. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. Gen 2 and Gen 3, and prices typically with them will drop on stuff, and you kind of get past the being a beta tester, for lack of a better word. High quality with products, but when they reiterate and reiterate and reiterate, like, good things happen. So I have every reason to believe that they're going to do that again here. So we will certainly see. And guys, chat is open. You have any questions, anything you want to talk about? Be happy to field any questions that you might have. And we'll just stay on here for a few more minutes. But yeah, that was kind of interesting, just seeing how now that's going to play out in the days ahead. I guess the Apple Vision Pro will come out early next year, is what they're expecting right now. So 2024. And I am not sold on a real world use case for VR yet. And I don't want the dystopian, future that Ready Player One showed us, like, where we're all just, sitting on our couches, neglecting the real world around us because we're addicted to VR. So, cautionary tale, yes, but that kind of feels like the darkest timeline if we're going down that path. So, hopefully that is not the way that this all plays out. So, we shall certainly see. Any thoughts on, there's a question that came in, David H. says this, any thoughts on massage chairs? Not an area that I've spent a whole lot of time researching, just being perfectly honest with you. So maybe something we need to do a review on in the future. Test out a massage chair. It's not a bad idea. I mean, I'm in the process of reviewing a vacuum, which is kind of new territory for the TechWinner channel. So, but we need to try that with massage chairs too. I will say, so this is where I'm sitting right now. This is my home office. So this is where, since the beginning of the 2020 COVID pandemic, when the world went into lockdown, I went from working in a corporate office building to working here from home, and I've been here to stay since. But one of the nice things that the company that I work for did, they allowed us to bring our tech home from our desks, and they allowed us to bring home our desk chairs, which was really nice. Never underestimate the power of a good chair, I will say. Ergonomics absolutely matter, especially when you're sitting for a long periods of time. So the chair that I have at my desk is one that the company that I work for provided to me, but it's a Herman Miller brand, which is very high quality. They have very high standards and incredibly comfortable chair. I mean, of any office chair, these things retail at ridiculous prices, but they're absolutely terrific. David H. says, I'm really not sure if it can replace the real thing, but the cost of actual person adds up to real quick. Oh, okay. Kind of talking about the VR stuff. Yeah. Yeah. It's like we're trying to recreate real life in a virtual world, and it's going to cost a lot of money to do it. I don't I don't see it yet. I could be totally, convinced. Just not yet. Not with what we've seen thus far. And like the metaverse, I sound like an old curmudgeon. I am by definition a geriatric millennial, and I sound very geriatric right now when I say I don't get the metaverse. I don't get the metaverse. I don't get the metaverse either. I just don't get the use case for it. And I don't think this is all just generational either, too. So I mean, I'm sitting here like you could hear what I'm saying and interpret that to mean that I think young people are bad. I do not think that's the case at all. I think millennials, when we were coming up, when we were in our 20s, we got this bad rap about, well, we're too lazy and we're entitled and we're the generation that got the participation trophy. And well, I didn't. But I think that's something that kind of gets unfairly attributed to certain generations, the Gen Zs that are coming up now. Guys, I think the reality is I'm 40 years old now. I'm reaching middle age, and I think there are good people and there are bad people. Bad, I use the term loosely, but there are broken people, there are hurt people, there are, people with strengths and weaknesses and shortcomings in every generation. So to stereotype or lump one single quality to an entire group of people, an entire range of people, whether that's ethnicity, culture, age, whatever, is just wrong. So, all that to say, there are good people and bad people. And here's where I was going with that. So Gen Zs, I've heard this trend, and you guys tell me about this in the chat if you've heard about this as well, where they are starting to understand the value of turning off the tech, disconnecting from it, and having real connections with people. I've heard that this practice is happening. I have not seen this play out for myself, but the idea of you have a smartphone and you could be there with a group of people and everybody's just kind of sitting there doing this and looking at their screen and not interacting with each other. So to actually self-discipline and keep themselves from doing that, the practice of taking a dumb phone with you that just has voice and text, or basically turning off your access to all of your other apps to eliminate that temptation of when you're with your friends, with real human people in the outside world, to eliminate this distraction. So I like that concept. I think that's good. Do not disturb mode is another good one. You can do some screen time settings with different devices that could prevent you from, having an addiction to social media and the statuses and the things that are happening in what in reality is not a true world. Social media is, I think oftentimes we see people at their best moments, and that's how they want to be seen. It's not an inherently bad thing, but it's not real. So I'm encouraged when I hear people saying that real human connection matters and being better together. I think it really does matter. That was a tangent. But I hope what I'm saying makes sense. And a few of you have stayed on, so you're at least listening. Thanks. Appreciate that. Haven't talked much about it, but another thing that I like following rockets. Of course, the Starship launch test flight happened a couple of months ago. That was awesome. Can't wait for the next one to happen, next test flight. I discovered yesterday a video on YouTube where somebody took a song that was used on a trailer a few years ago for a video game called Kerbal Space Program 2. They took the song that was used in that trailer and then synced it up to the Starship test flight, and it was awesome. I loved it. The song was called Outro by M83. me and my music are very, I'm Googling it just so that I know. Yeah, the M83. My bad. 53, 83. It's one of those things. Well, guys, this has been fun. Thank you so much for joining me. And more content's coming on the way. And branching out a little bit. It's been a lot of car-themed stuff lately. And that's really just kind of been the journey. This channel is kind of in an interesting place now where, you know, a lot of times I'll have people, sellers, companies that are reaching out to me to test products. And I say no quite a bit. And, you know, I've kind of taken a hiatus over this last month. I've said no to a lot of things, or just said no, not right now, but maybe later. But it's continues to be fun, and I like testing things, but I only test products that I would believe in, or a company allows me to be completely honest about, you know, the strengths and the weaknesses of it. And we'll do that with this vacuum too, which, guys, I've been very impressed with. There's a couple of things I'd like to see tweaked that I think could make for a little better experience, but at the price point of what this thing is, absolutely terrific. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a future video that you'll be seeing very, very soon. But guys, thanks so much for joining me, and take care, and we'll see you guys again soon. Y'all have a good night.